Hey there, Sean Bay, the Sales Funnel Nerd. Welcome to where we're going to be going through the Sell in Advance funnel, better yet known as the webinar funnel. So here we see that it all laid out, and we're going to go through the walkthrough here, and I'm going to step you through all this so you understand what this funnel is all about, and then we're going to get into all the stuff that you can do with it. So if we look at the first step here, it's kind of like our lead generation funnel. Essentially, we're generating leads for an event, and the event is the webinar where there's going to be it's a combination. You're giving away free information, or you're putting out some very, very valuable information, but it's incomplete, and it's, essentially a piece of a larger puzzle or a larger system or whatever, is one way to do it as far as your teaching methodology. But that's what's going to happen is people are going to come, they're going to register for your webinar, and then they're going to get directed to your sales message there. So there's some extra stuff in this, and we'll go through each page here. So on the webinar registration page, as far as the layout, we're going to have essentially our headline, maybe a few other links there, a picture usually of the presenter of the webinar, and some kind of cool webinar name, some type of, something that intrigues people and makes them want to attend, right? Now, as far as stepping things up, after they register, they're going to get directed to the next page here where it says webinar confirmed. So the thank you page or confirmation page, webinar confirmation page, we can call it. But here we see after they have clicked and they have put in their email address and essentially become a new lead and registered for the webinar, they're going to land on the next page here where it says, we're going to have a message thanking them for attending. And then what we can do is direct them to something else. We could have them share out this webinar to other people. We can have a link on there to remind them to add it to their calendar because we do want people to attend. The main thing with webinars is attendance. We'll talk about that later here, but what we want to do is really maximize our chances for attendance here. So here you can see we've got it laid out in time zones, right? We want to let people know exactly when it is, how to add it to their calendar, and some other things as well. Okay, and we can see underneath here, now these are kind of optional. I don't want people to get thrown off by this, but this is kind of an optional element, and we have some what's called indoctrination pages, right? And this is all controlled with some automation inside our website builder or our emails, just basically sending people to links to pages here. And what we'd have optionally is just 3 additional videos, maybe some information, just to kind of get people jazzed up, excited about the webinar and what's to come. If it's your first webinar, don't worry about trying to pull off a whole bunch of indoctrination pages. Even if it was only one, you did one additional page with a video pointing people to reminding people about the webinar. That would still be very awesome. So indoctrination pages are cool. I'm going to say that's kind of an optional element. But the next part here, as far as the replay, we're also going to use some more automation for that is once the webinar if it's happened and people weren't able to attend for whatever reason, we do want to offer those people a chance to watch the webinar replay. And then again, at some point where there's going to be a button that directs them over to the sales page. Okay, so I'm going to call this webinar test. So after I've given a name, I'm just going to create this funnel step. Nice thing is we've got a group together here, and all I have to do is just go to webinar and then registration. And we can see we've got a whole bunch of really great looking templates to use. Let's go with something, let's go with bright orange here. Why not? So we'll select this template, and then I'm going to customize this. There we go. So free webinar, the nice thing is I can just click in here and edit certain elements really easily. So I'm going to change this to SeanBailey.com. Of course, if I need to add anything, the great thing is I just have to click on a little plus sign underneath to add these individual elements, right? And I've gone over these before, but you can see as far as all the stuff that's in here, but really there's certain ones you're going to be using over and over as far as throwing in like an image or a video or a button or a headline or some text or something. So it's super easy to use and manipulate. That's why I love this as far as the editors that are out there. I've tried a bunch of different stuff, and so far this one's still the big winner. So anyways, so as far as this, now I've got like a preview video maybe that I've already set up here. So I'm just going to go grab a video URL. So this is how easy it is as far as manipulating or using any type of video, right? Like if this element wasn't here, I would just click and then go to video, boom. That's how easy it is to add like a video player, right? So as far as configuring it, just click in here, and I'm going to change this to YouTube. I have already got my YouTube URL, so I just paste it in here. You know what? I'm going to have this autoplay. So when they land on this page, the video is going to start playing immediately. The controller is going to be on. Branding, we'll go with no branding on this one. And we're not going to block the pause. So I don't need anything else as far as anything fancy. I like the black border on that. So that's it. I'm done. So I'm just going to save that just to keep my changes. And I'm not going to worry about the description right now. Be a conversion boosting, and let's go with sales funnel, of course. Sales funnel machine. Be a conversion boosting sales funnel machine. Let's see, maybe I don't like this element here, so I could delete it. Or what I like to do is to go into elements and then manage. And the nice thing is each element is in a list here, so I can go, and when I hover my mouse over it, it'll just go and automatically go to that element, even if it's off the screen, right? If I go to the very bottom, if I go back to the top, there we go. And it just automatically centers and does it nicely for you. So as far as that little subhead, so I know it's a subhead, but if I would need to go find it, I could just scroll through. I see it highlighted there in blue. So instead of deleting it, I'm just going to hide it because maybe I want to, later on in a split test, I'm going to try having that subhead in and see if it changes anything, because I want to test that feature for whatever reason. But that's it. So I'm going to leave all this here. Sales funnel boosting machine. Now, of course, there's just me putting it on, so I am going to delete this guy. Goodbye, Jim Johnson. And here, I'm going to change this to me. And we'll say sales funnel master, because I'm humble. We'll keep this. This sounds like the right date that I want to go with. And I would just go in here and just update as far as what we're going to learn on this. So I just have 3 main things I was going to cover for whatever reason. Say it was only 2 things, I could go and just turn off or delete this element and just have 2 things. And then that's about it. So here we need to configure as far as our button. This, we would have it set up to, as far as set action, it looks like this one's set to, do we have a pop-up? There we go. So when they click the button, it's going to show this pop-up right here. So all we have to do now for this is just configure this button after it submits the page and just say that we want this to submit the form. Is just configure, make sure that we've configured our integration here. Essentially all we want to do is capture their email address, routing them to our email autoresponder, the same as we would if we were capturing a new lead, right? So for them, we want to have some type of reminder sent to them, their email, some type of maybe an item on the page that'll add it to, we saw with that little widget there to add it to their calendar, something to remind them. But essentially that's it for how to design a page. You just need to configure, customize the message a bit, choose your own time and custom time and date. I like to include multiple time zones as far as what you saw there on the webinar funnel outline. Okay, so I'm going to call this page Webinar Confirmation. Very creative, I know, but all we have to do is just click Create Funnel Step. After that's done, we just go into the list of templates and choose the one we want and then customize. So we go to Webinar and we want to go with Thank You. So here we can see we've got some templates to choose from. I like this one. Let's go for it. And then we just click on to Edit Page. I'm opening up a new tab. We jump in. So now we're going to go and leave this as far as thanks for registering. Now this one here, you can see there's lots of things that we can do. We've got a video set up where we can tell them what to do before the web class starts as far as watching a video. This one has it set up for people to sign up for a 2-week trial before the webinar even starts. Right? So that's kind of cool, getting people to go and set up a free account. Again, we can have more videos. We can also have what I like, one of the techniques I've seen used on this thank you page is to have some type of worksheet for people to print out and have ready, because there'll be certain elements of the worksheet that are blanked out that will get filled in on the webinar. So that kind of gives people more incentive to show up and attend. Here we would just go in and change this, right? Event ticket for, I like this as far as the little ticket icon. Event ticket for, and we'll just call this sales funnel goodness. Don't forget to mark in your calendar. Here, yeah, say sales funnels. There. Big bold message on there as far as how to do this. You know what? We don't need a subhead because that headline just said it all. And then we would just customize and change the date. Here, it's not at 12. We'll just say it's at 2. Super simple. And then once I've made my changes, I just hit save. And of course I can preview it anytime, see how it looks, make sure I got it all right. And that's it. I do want to say don't pass up the, even though they're small and on the bottom, going in, I always go in and take the time to set up these links here as far as any type of legal and compliance. I am not a lawyer in any way, shape, or form, so I'm not giving you any type of legal advice in any way, but do have these elements, like my advice to you, my non-legal advice to you is to make sure that you have your legal and compliance links set up on your page because, one, it's good in the event of needing those types of links, but two, it's just kind of good to have that appearance as well, right? To look like a professional and have that type of stuff set up here, right? So going in here and, setting up, all you have to do as far as editing this, highlight that, and then I want to click on the little link chain here, and I just change this to http://www /policy. Done. Now I like to hit save after each time I've done that because that makes sure that it gets gets applied there. And you can see now that it's changed, right? That it's been hyperlinked. And then of course I like to go after I saved it. I like to preview, go over, check out the page, test out all my links, make sure that they're set up and that they work there, right? So do make sure you fill out the small things on this page here. Make sure that overall you're reminding them again when it is to maximize and promote attendance here. So this extra stuff as far as videos, don't let things hold you back from putting on your first webinar. But like as you go and progress, you want to have these types of elements here. And videos, especially with something like a video, do this before the class starts, with how pervasive video is and how easy it is to do video, something that is an easy option. So the other pages that we're looking at, talking about what to do after they sign up, is set up your webinar replay page. And what's kind of optional is your indoctrination pages, right? So all you really need to do if you did want to set up those would be to create the videos. And then for those pages, all you really need to use is some type of like a VSL page, or just take a page and add in a video player and customize it however you want. Now that you've seen, how easy it is to do things with the editor. But if you just want a quick fix, I would take a VSL page, something with a video already in it, change the headline up a bit, make a few changes, bing, bang, boom, all done. Now, as far as the webinar replay page, I'll even go in and show you as far as in ClickFunnels, they even have that as a group. So I'll show you how fast and easy it is to do that. But before we do, so we'll just kind of talk about what else you need to do after people sign up, right? So what we definitely want to do is set up some email reminders. We want to have an email series that goes out to them on specific days, preferably every day leading up to your webinar to remind people to go. And then the day of the webinar, you actually want to have several emails going out. Hey, it's going on later on today. Hey, it's going on in 3 hours. Hey, it's going on in an hour. And I'm even going to show you a little trick here that you can use in a moment that I think you'll dig as well. Right? Now, as far as your indoctrination pages, I told you as far as how I would do it, I would just go grab a VSL page, change it up a bit, and turn that into an indoctrination page and have some type of video that kind of primes them before they go and attend the webinar, right? So that's easy enough to do if you want to do it. But like I say, I would consider that one to be kind of optional, especially if you're just trying to get your first webinar under your belt. So the next thing you can do is to create a worksheet, and you want to tell them, hey, take this worksheet and print it out, put it beside your computer, put it on the board beside in your office there, so that it's hanging there to remind you, and make sure that you bring that worksheet because I'm going to give you the answers to fill it out, and I'll put a little note. I'll put a sample worksheet that I've used in the past, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, right? And then you can download it, check it out, and customize it and make it your own. So the next thing is that besides your email reminders, I guess I decided to put that in the list twice because it is important. You do want to, even the day of, you can just use broadcast emails and send it out to the people that have signed up to customize it and send out broadcasts whenever you want, right? Now, the GoToWebinar hack, you may have even seen this if you've ever been on a webinar with with somebody who's hosting it using GoToWebinar. What they'll do is after you sign up, they'll call the event, how to build a sales funnel in, record time. And then what they'll do is they'll go into the name of the webinar and they'll just rename it. And they'll put like **, starting now, **. And then once they submit that new name, GoToWebinar will say, hey, do you want to send out this new title to everyone who's signed up? So they say yes. So then you get an email on your end that says, hey, **, this is starting right now. it's kind of like an extra reminder. So it's a nice little hack that people use when they're using GoToWebinar. So if you've ever been on one, you've seen this in action, go check out a webinar, and you'll probably see, it won't take long before you do see someone use this on you. So the last thing that we're going to cover here today is the replay page. Let's jump over to the editor, have some fun, jump in, play around, and make a replay page. Okay, so I've gone in. I'm going to call this replay page, and I just have to tell it to create that step for my funnel. And then I'm just going to go in and go under webinar, and then they call it broadcast room as far as in the templates there. So if I go into broadcast room, so I'm just going to go in and select this template, and as soon as it builds this page, there we go. So here, all I would do is just have a link to the video recording of the replay itself. I'll go in, change out some of these elements here, right? Turn this into put in my picture and my name. So there we go, jazz it up. This guy's better looking than me. I'm gonna leave him in here for now. But other than that, all I have to do is just change up this. Instead of live presentation, I would go and add some scarcity and say limited time replay. And there we go, limited time replay. Got my name in, and I'm just gonna leave this how it is. I would go in here, right, again, and then I just put in whatever type of video link that I need to, whether I'm on YouTube, video, or Wistia, Vimeo. If it's an HTML5 link, the nice thing is they've got it set up to work with all those. So once I'm done, I can just hit save. I can preview it, give this page a name, and that's it. That's how easy it is to whip up a page, especially using a nice easy builder. So here's a basic overview of a webinar structure that I've used many times, and it works really great as far as just how to organize and present all your material, right? So we'll go through it here. The first thing you want to do is kind of welcome everyone, thank them for taking the time to join you on the webinar, right? Acknowledge that their time is valuable, and they're taking time out of their day to be on this webinar with you. Next thing that works well is to tell them that they're in the right place. If you're looking for this, you're in the right place. If you want to learn this, you're in the right place. If this is what you're looking for, good news, because you're going to get it here with this webinar presentation today, right? Next thing is kind of like a story. I try to keep it. Lots of people go on the story and tell like a very long story. I keep mine, 10 minutes or so, as far as telling the story of how I got where I'm at, why I'm putting on this webinar. Stories are important because it does let people get to know who you are, that you are actually a human being, that they can bond with you. You're not just some faceless machine trying to squeeze money out of them. The story part is important, but this is why once you get a few webinars in and practice it, then you'll understand as far as how much time to dedicate to your story and kind of refining it and making it yours. So the story part, it is important. Make sure you do it. It's important to do it early and get into it and just have a good hard-hitting story, emotional, that people can bond with, to get them to just kind of settle in and just go with the rest of the webinar. Right? So after the story is done, after about 10 minutes of that, then we move on to the teaching. So the meat, this is it. This is where you're given the good stuff here, right? So I like to structure mine with 3 secrets. Now, these are the top 3 challenges that people need to overcome in order to get to their desired result, right? Like with a sales funnel, 3 challenges people need to overcome is, what markets should they go into? What tools should they use? And how do they get a good sales message? How do they, get started if they don't have a product, right? So just kind of sit down and come up with the top 3 challenges that people have when it comes to a result, or it could be 5 things, but whatever it is, it's as long as it's your own and you're teaching like something extremely valuable that people could actually take and kind of go and apply and use from that webinar, that's what you want to go with. You want them to be so amazed, so like, wow, if this guy's teaching and giving this away, what is his paid stuff like? That's what you essentially want people to think with your teachings on the webinar there. And yeah, don't be afraid to give away the best that you got. When you think like, man, I shouldn't be giving this away, that's okay. You totally should. Trust me, it is worth it. People want to know what if this is what you're giving away, what kind of stuff can we expect if they invest some money with you. After that, after the teaching's over, then there's usually some type of transition. So the transition is where you essentially go, I hope who feels like they got a ton out of this, who thinks that they've got something they can take take and use, and people usually type in and say, like give you some feedback, and that's great. And then, you can just say, if it's okay with you, if I have your permission, you can even ask for their permission. That's a great way to transition. I've seen it done like that before. If, with your permission, I'm gonna sit here until people type in and say that it's okay to show them some more stuff. I have some additional information for them, for those who want to, go farther with what I've talked about. Right? So, people aren't, completely clueless. They understand there's going to be probably some type of pitch, but they're going to want to be pitched to because you just give them some awesome stuff. So, a lot of people will drop off the webinar and may not sit around for that. But if you do your transition right, a lot of people will. And then from there, it's just essentially close. Like, hey, here's what I got. Here's an offer. Here's a link to go to it, or go type this in, or there'll be a button that appears underneath your webinar, depending how you structure it. But even if you just have a link on the screen on your slide, tell them to go to, www.seanbailey.com/crazy sweet offer. Something like that. And that's it. And then you basically tell them to go to your sales page and buy. And if you do your close right, you should be presenting, like an irresistible offer to them. Something that's so great that people are like, yes, this is worth it. And that's the point of webinars, is because you've been on with them for, 60, 90 minutes, depending on how long you structure it. These people have had a long time to sit with you, listen to you, get to know you, bond with you. So that's how you're able to sell, higher ticket items with webinars. So as far as webinar math, there's 3 things that you need to understand and really pay important attention to here. So as far as webinar, so you put out some type of, whether it's an ad or post something to all the people that follow you on Facebook or YouTube, or however you attract attention or traffic and send it to your webinar registration page, you're going to have a percentage of that traffic that actually signs up. Right? So that's going to be your conversion rate on your webinar registration page. And out of those people who sign up for your webinar and confirm, there's going to be a discrepancy between that and how many people actually show up for your webinar. Right? And out of the people who show up, sit through the whole webinar, enjoy your presentation, listen to your transition and your close, hear your pitch, and actually go and buy, right? You're going to have a discrepancy between that as well. Right? Makes sense? I know it sounds a little complex, but it's really kind of easy. So if we look at like some sample metrics here. So if we get 100 people, out of all the traffic that we send to the registration page, we get 100 people. Normally we would look at them as leads, but now in this case it's registrants for the webinar. So out of those leads, only 60 of them wind up attending. 40 of them just decide, for whatever reason, I can't do it, don't want to go attend, something came up, got to take the kid to soccer practice, something happened, right? So 60 of them actually follow through. They get the notification right before the webinar, and they're like, yep, I want to go check this out. So they go, they check it out and sit through, and out of those 60 people, let's say that you close one person, but if you're selling a $997 product, right? Even with that kind of rate, if you spent, say you spent money on traffic, say you spent $500 to get those 100 people to sign up, and you're selling a $997 product, you make one sale, then you just doubled your money, right? So that's the great thing about webinars, is because you've got these people on with you for so long that you can sell higher ticket items. And that's the point of it. I wouldn't see the point of running a webinar to go and sell like a $27 item. Not something that I would ever do. If you're going to do it, make sure you have a high price point. Now, as far as your webinar itself, the first time it can be nerve-wracking, and oh my gosh, put on a webinar, people are going to listen to me, what if they don't like me, all these kind of weird thoughts that you go through. Totally natural. I totally went through it as well, but the sooner that you go through, do your first webinar, get over it, and realize, that like anything that was kind of scary, once you do it, it's really not as bad as you thought it was, and ultimately, just have fun with it. I'll tell you a story as far as why you should have fun with it and why these types of things, like it's an adventure, so just go through with it. This guy I heard this, it was a sample lesson as far as perseverance, and so he's putting on this webinar, doing his presentation. He's got an audience of people, lots of people registered and showed up and are on the webinar, but there's one person on there who's as far as in the chat, and he's not there to enjoy the webinar and learn from it. He's actually being annoying. He's kind of taking away from the whole lesson for the other people. So the gentleman putting on the webinar, we'll call him Joe. Joe's putting on the webinar, and this guy, he's being annoying. He's distracting from the webinar. So Joe is the administrator of the webinar. So he's going to kick this guy off, this annoying guy. He's going to kick him off so that he can keep going. So instead of kicking this guy off the webinar, Joe winds up promoting this guy to being the administrator of the webinar, and then this guy, the annoying guy, then goes and kicks Joe off the webinar. So as far as make sure you have fun with it, because nothing could possibly be worse than that. I thought when I heard that story, I thought if that happened to me, I don't think I would ever go back and do a webinar ever again. That's, how humiliating. But the guy did go back, and he did do more webinars, and ultimately had huge success. And but just a funny story, and just as far as how things can go. Now, as far as getting rid of those jitters and whatnot, you can, I like to sit down and actually do a full run through. Just go through my slides and just pretend like there's people on the webinar and I'm doing my thing, and I go and I do a practice run, close the door of the office and just run through the whole thing. Also, do like a test run of the technology, right? Just set up a pretend webinar time, something where you can have, if you've got another computer in the house or someone else who can attend, and just go and make sure that they can hear you, and that everything works as far as the chat. Try it out. It's like getting a new vehicle and not going for a test drive before go pick up your friends and show them, right? You don't want to stall at a stoplight and embarrass yourself. So you want to go ahead and test things out. Go for a test drive with your webinar technology, and just understand how it works, right? The biggest thing for me overall is that I've learned is that go for high energy, right? And a good way to have high energy is to let the hands loose, right? Don't sit with your hands clasped. Don't put them on the table. Don't have them near the keyboard, holding the mouse, anything like that. Let the hands go. It will come through on your recording. Try to smile. People can hear. It sounds weird, but people can hear when you smile on the other end of your recording. But go through with, above all, just high energy for as long as you're on that presentation, and people will love it. Because if you're doing this kind of thing, so the next thing that you want to do is you want to click on this, and after that you want to click here, and then, right? It's no good. People are going to be just bailing left, right, and center. Got to have high energy. Let the arms loose, shake the fists, and people will love your presentation. There's 5 things that you need to deal with. So the first thing is the people who clicked on your ad, they came to your landing page, webinar registration page, but they didn't actually register, right? So how do we remarket to them? How do we go after them again? Well, if you did something like Facebook ads, retargeting is actually fairly easy. They've got it set up now. I'm not going to get into the great details about Facebook ads and remarketing and techniques because that literally can change daily with Facebook, but I'm going to tell you for certain that you can go in and remarket, send new ads, or target those people again, maybe with a different variation of your webinar registration page, and go out to those people, right? People who, for whatever reason, were interested in your ad but didn't register, right? So you remarket to them, try them again. Now, the next thing that you need to deal with is people who registered for your webinar but they didn't attend. So for those people, those are the ones where you're going to send some email messages pointing them to the limited time webinar replay. Right? These are the people that you want to, get over, and they can check out the replay and watch it, and then you're going to have a link underneath the replay. Maybe it pops up at a certain point and points them to your sales message. So the next thing is people who attended the webinar, but they didn't see your offer. Maybe they bailed at some point during the webinar. Again, point these people back to the webinar replay page as well. And that's a great thing, is that with a lot of these webinar technologies out there, they will tell you stuff like that, like who attended, how long they sat on the webinar, if they bailed early, if they clicked. You can get a whole bunch of tools and data from different webinar software that's out there. So the people who attended but they didn't see the offer, point these people back to the webinar replay, so that they can, either pick up where they were left off or watch the whole thing again if they need to, but at least get a chance to see your pitch, see your offer. So the next thing, is people who saw your webinar pitch. So they sat through, watched everything, got to the end, saw the pitch, but they didn't buy. Right? So for these people, they don't really need to see the webinar again. These people, you can just send a series of emails saying, announcing some type of scarcity with the offer. Maybe there were some bonuses involved, and you're letting them know that these bonuses are going away in the next, 72 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours, something like that, right? Some type of scarcity, some reason for them to go over and check out your sales message. And that's what you would have in the emails or whatever notifications, likely emails, is is people who saw the pitch but didn't buy, point them back to the sales page. And the last thing is, the good news is the people who bought. So the people who did actually go and purchase your offer, those people you want to make sure that they get sent an onboarding sequence. So a buyer's email sequence that basically alleviates that kind of, kind of buyer's remorse that's going to kick in, especially if it's a high ticket offer. You want to have some type of, emails, onboarding sequence, just letting them know that there's some surprise bonuses, stuff that wasn't even announced. There's lots of ways that you can kind of offset that, but at the very least, some type of onboarding sequence going out to them that lets them know that they made a solid purchase, that everything's going to be awesome, and just kind of seals the deal with them. What you can do, the great thing about it is you don't have to go and complete a full product. You can kind of test a product idea, a concept that you have, something that you want to put out there without having to do an entire product. And the way that you do that is you, let's say that you're going to come up with a course, a 6-week course that you're going to sell people, right? A 6-week course on how to create sales funnels that make money. Right, sales funnels that convert. So the first thing you would do is put on a webinar where you teach, 3 awesome things, 3 secrets, 3 kind of challenges that people initially have when it comes to creating a sales funnel. You do your webinar presentation, how I outlined there. And then at the end of that webinar, you point people to the sales page to get them to the people that want to go through your 6-week course. They go to the sales page, sign up and pay. And the first lesson starts in 1 week. And let them, know that as far as in your pitch or on your sales page or whatever. So when people go there and they register and you see that people have purchased and are, going to, you've, got a winning offer here as far as your webinar, then the only thing that you have to do is just put on 6 more webinars, right? So then you just break down your course, whatever you're teaching there, go into each week. So week 1, we're going to cover this, this, and this, and go over all the details, all the information. So they come away from week 1 with, a ton of goodness, and then just keep doing that. Another week, another week, another week. At the end, box it up, and you've got yourself a completed product because you've recorded all your webinars, right? So the next way that you can do this, kind of a variation on this method, is what's called the invisible funnel. Now, the invisible funnel, this is not my term. This is from ClickFunnels and Russell Brunson and his documentation. The invisible funnel belongs to him. But other than that, I'll show you exactly how it works. So let's take a look. So here's Russell's high-tech document outlining the invisible funnel. To break it all down, what happens is on the first page, they come to our invisible page or invisible funnel sales page where essentially we're offering a presentation. So 1 week from today, I'm going to be putting on a webinar that is showing people how to make their first sales funnel. If they've never made one before, this is going to show them exactly how to do it from start to finish, right? And it's, we'll say it's $67. Now, the great thing is on this page, we outline to people and say, you pay nothing. So what happens is you put your credit card information in. There's no charge that's going to be applied. After you watch the webinar, 3 days after that, then you get billed if you like the presentation. If you didn't like the presentation, just email us at any time, in those 3 days after the webinar and say, don't bill me, and we won't bill you. And that's it. It's that simple. You get to come to the webinar, and if you don't like it, even if, we give you great information and you just don't feel like you got, your money's worth, you can still say, don't bill me, whatever you want. Most people are going to be honest by nature and are not going to try to scam you. So that's why this works great. Now, the next thing that happens is they pay $0 and they come and attend the webinar. So you just lay it all out and give them a ton of great information, give them your best material, and put on this training. And then again, at the end, after you've gone through and shown them all this awesome stuff, you just say, if there's anyone who's interested, or if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to show you some, additional premium level training that I have available for those who are interested. Now, a lot of people might drop off and that'll be, won't watch any further, but some people will be interested and will watch, your pitch to have them say, okay, so if you want to go further, we've got some high level coaching, whatever they want, they just go over to this page here to apply and, become a client. essentially, right? Or, go to the higher ticket item of whatever you were offering on the training there. So that's the great thing about that, is that they can come on and not feel obligated. They don't have to pay any money initially up front, but they will get billed afterwards. And as long as you put on a good presentation, like I say, most people aren't going to try to scam you, and you probably get a few people that say don't bill me, but other than that, as long as you deliver good value, good information, people are gonna pay for it. So that's how you would do it with a variation of it using what's called the invisible funnel there. So now essentially, once you've got a winning webinar, you can turn it into an automated webinar, and that is going to be essentially a non-stop profit machine for you, because what's going to happen is it's essentially like a webinar, but everything happens without you. It's going to be a recording for it, but there's lots of different technologies and ways that are out there that you can have people, like someone types in a question into the webinar when they're watching the recording, and it actually gets answered by a live person, so they get direct feedback in regards to the webinar, even though you're not there doing the presenting. I know, crazy, right? But trust me, it's completely possible, and it is very awesome. So when people come to your page, there's ways that you can set this up. They can schedule the webinar. So if they land there and they click and they put in their name, their email address, and then you've got a little drop down menu underneath that. And when they click on the drop down, there's going to be some options. One, they can watch it, an hour from now. Two, they could watch it tomorrow at a different time during the day. Or three, they can watch immediately. So that's the great thing, is they can schedule, or they can watch it immediately, or there's other technologies and ways that you can set it up so that your automated webinar plays at the top of every hour, or you can even have it go every 15 minutes. So these I call JIT webinars, and that just means just in time. So people come to the page like, oh, great, it's only 25 minutes till this webinar starts, or like in the case of 15 minutes, you're only going to be usually a few minutes out. So it's people can kind of get immediate gratification without having to wait too long, but at the same time, it feels like they're registering and attending kind of a special event. Make sense? So. Next, the great thing is that you can configure the marketing messages for people who watch some of the webinar but not all of the webinar, people who watched all of the webinar but didn't buy, people who went to the order page but didn't complete their checkout. So you can integrate. There's lots of things with both your, like with ClickFunnels inside their email editor package. They have a lot of different nifty tools in regards to this, but your webinar technology is going to be able to tell you usually this type of stuff. So who was on there, right? The people that came, the people who only sat on there for a few minutes, people that watched halfway, people who watched the whole thing, people who actually clicked on your offer. Lots of different information and data is going to be available to you through these types of different webinar technology providers. So that's the great thing about this. I'm going to have some links underneath here to different webinar stuff, webinar technologies, information about webinars and automated webinars for you. So that you can check it out here. But do indeed check it out. This is kind of more of a, an advanced level type thing once you've actually got a working webinar, something that, has converted, people have bought from. But it's something that, like I say, once it's automated, then it's essentially just a money-making machine running on the side for you. Now, before I've talked about when you do a webinar, anytime you do a webinar, you want to record it. Now, here's where we're going to break down why that's so important and why this can help you out and give you a real advantage. Because you can take your webinar, right? You take your recording and you extract the audio from that. So you've got the video version, recording of it, and then you extract just the audio. Now, that's all you need to send away to a transcription company. I'll put a link underneath this lesson here to the one that I've used in the past that works really good. But when you get that transcription back, you want to edit that down, turn that into some type of report, right? Get that transcription edited, because it's usually just going to be a big block of nasty text, right? If you get just kind of a basic transcription done. So you go over to Fiverr and get that turned into, condensed down into, a very easy readable report. And the nice thing is you can just chop out all the story stuff. It can be just the learning portions of it here. But all your webinars, get them transcribed, have an audio version and, like a transcription version of it, and or a report version. Now, once you've got your audio version, you want to burn your audio to CDs. Now, this type of thing you can do manually if you want, or you can hand this off to a company who will do this for you. And I highly recommend, anytime you can outsource and have that time kind of freed up so that you can do other things versus investing, your own time into something that really is only costs a couple bucks an hour, I say outsource it. right? But you want to get those CDs and the transcription and basically put those into a package, a binder, something where if somebody buys through your webinar, you've been selling, if you've done it right, you've sold them a high ticket item. So when they get this kind of surprise in the mail, you don't even tell them about this physical version. This physical version just arrives as a surprise in the mail, and then they feel like they're getting, you know, an extremely impressive product. Again, helps lower buyer remorse, and you know, you get nothing but a happy customer on the other side. So that's what you can do as far as using your webinar content to give your customer kind of a surprise bonus and you know, over deliver for them. Now, as far as on your side with your webinar content, what you want to do is, again, you want to record your webinar, those transcriptions, have your own audio version of it so that you can take it and use your learning sections are going to be the most important part. Anything where you're giving away the meat, the content of your webinar, that kind of stuff can be turned into just basically anything. Blog posts, emails that you want to send out, like sub mini videos of those, just break each one of those into its own little video. Take the audio, I get it burned to CDs, and have those as free plus shipping CDs where, you know, you get these 3 secrets on a CD. The person comes to your squeeze page and you just essentially tell them to cover the shipping and handling. So you know what I mean? Like say $5. They pay $5 for the shipping and handling, and you'll send them this CD. Now, of course, you've got additional offers on there, but this is just basically a way to get them to commit and identify themselves as a buyer, right? So the transcription. Now, the great thing about the transcription is you can take that, have that edited into your own ebook, put that up on Amazon, and then all of a sudden, if you have a book, by default, you become some type of expert or celebrity in your field or industry or niche because you can claim that you have your own book. And there's something about saying that you have a book where people, you know, just kind of assume that that you're some kind of an expert in regards to it. So that's how you take, you know, that should give you some ideas on how you can take and manipulate. That's the point of putting out this great learning in the webinar, is to take that content and repurpose it because it's good stuff, because it's, you know, better than sitting and banging it out again and again or having to redo something. So if you can take it and transform it into another piece of value, once you do it once, I assure you, you will always do it because it's very handy. So take those ideas and run with it. And I'll have some links underneath here as far as for outsourcing and that type of thing. And I will see you in the next video.